That's right. It's the Christian Road Warrior, and I'm back once again. And like I told Brady, who's waiting in the wings, I said, your whole theory, your whole ideology is over because this is a miracle that you're on the Warrior channel. So his whole stuff is over. He can go home and just relax. He can just chill until the next episode because it's a miracle. He's on the Warrior channel. I've been after Fanatic for the longest. Like, come on, bro, let's talk this stuff over, man. Let's go. Just didn't want to do it apparently. But yes, I have the one and only, a part of the group. What was that group name? The Cross Movement. Yeah. Yeah, it was part of the Cross Movement, one of the premier hip hop / rap groups of its era. And yes. Are you live? Yes, I am live, honey. Okay. All right. Yeah, that was my lovely wife. She's heading off. But yeah, man. So I finally got the brother on, and he's waiting in the wings. And I'm gonna put the link in the chat for anyone who wants to ask questions of Mr. formerly known as Fanatic. And let me bring him up. All right, Mr. Fanatic. I'm almost having a heart attack because I can't believe you're here. I'm like, my goodness, how long have I been trying to get this brother on? And, you know, it's almost like Sanford and Son. I'm coming to see you, Lord, because I don't know what's happening.
I appreciate your persistence. It wasn't that I didn't want to necessarily have the conversation, but we had some. I didn't understand where you were coming from on a few of your attempts to have the conversation. So work that out and we're good to go now. So.
Okay. Now you look a little frozen to me. Oh, okay.
I'll do that from time to time.
Okay. That'll happen. Okay. All right. Just so I know.
It's too much going on.
It happens from time to time. I mean, even on my videos when I'm doing stuff by myself, stuff freezes and stuff messes up. Audio messes up. Don't know what the problem is, but we'll work through it as much as we can. All right. So first of all, let me say that I do apologize if I came off to you the wrong way in terms of how, I was trying to get you to talk and discuss the stuff. And I did explain in the email to you, what the deal was to a degree, because I'm kind of, imitating these wrestlers, the Road Warriors, and they were rough and tough, and they were mean. I used to
love the Road Warriors back in the day.
What was that?
I used to love the Road Warriors back in the day.
Okay, great. Yeah, so we have a little of that in common. Yeah. I kind of loved them and kind of hated them because they went back and forth between good guys and bad guys, but But yeah, and a part of the reasons why I started on YouTube as the Christian Road Warrior is because I had found out that Hawk, the guy who Mike Hegstrand, he had became a Christian. It's like, oh, okay, that's cool. But I found out like way down the line. I found out when he passed, because when he passed, I was like, oh man, not Hawk. And then people started talking, and he was sharing his faith and all that. And then I also found out that Animal also, they came together and gave their lives to Christ, and they were doing stuff like wrestling, but on a more spiritual tip. They were doing some of that on the side. And so I took from that as to honor their conversion. I call myself the Christian Road Warrior because basically that's what they were, So that's a little.
I'm not mad at it.
Okay, just giving you a little insight before I give you my clothesline later on.
Look, you can be whoever you want to be. Now that I know what you're doing, you can be as Hawk and Animal as you want to be. Okay. It was just before I didn't get it, and so like I remember on Facebook, I think the only thing I remember is you told me you were going to get the book. You told me you were going to get at me, and then when I started having conversations about the book, I remember you were in a back and forth with somebody, and you were challenging them to like a Hebrew off or something. Like, do you know Hebrew? Like, I know Hebrew. And it just seemed very like, I don't know, just rubbed me the wrong way. And I think I tried to give you a warning, and I feel like you steamrolled over my warning. And at that point, I just was like, okay, I'm not here for this. But now that I understand, like I said, the persona that you're going for, you can be as much of that as you want to be. It's all good.
Okay, cool. All right, but yeah. So I mean, I remember that, and I want to just kind of explain a little bit of my reasoning, and I think I tried to on the Facebook. But basically, here's the thing that I've discovered, and you probably can understand this. People online can pretend to know a language or something because I can just say, hey, what about this Hebrew word? And you can, and again, if we're not live now, we're not live. I can ask you about a Hebrew word. You can go Google that or use the program, find that information, put it in there, and it looks like you know Hebrew, right? So my point was at that time, okay, let's go on live so that I can put Hebrew on the screen. And if you really know Hebrew, you can just read it. And you know what I'm saying? That was my reason, because I've learned that people can pretend, and they do pretend to know stuff they don't know because they can look it up. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I hear you. I guess
Yeah.
even back then when I saw that debate between you and the guy, I'm thinking, like, I remember, I mean, I took Hebrew, 3 years of Hebrew in seminary. I don't
Right.
know any of that anymore. Like, it's gone now. But I know the rules of syntax. I know Hebrew syntax. I will have to go look stuff up, but that doesn't invalidate my ability to work through those issues in the text just because I can't sight read Hebrew. You know what I mean? So to me, the demand was unreasonable.
Okay. Right. And I can understand it at that time, but basically, I was trying to prevent people playing games. That's
I got
basically
you.
it.
I
Okay,
got you.
and
Yep.
that was where I was coming from. That's all, you know. And I do
Cool.
agree with what you were saying about, you know, you got rusty and whatnot, and all that. You took Hebrew, and you're rusty now because you probably haven't looked at it in a long time. That's
My gosh.
understandable. All right, that's
Yep.
completely understandable. But all right, let's move a little further here. I do have a little outline of stuff I want to
Okay.
get to.
Yeah, this is your
All
show.
right,
So I'm typically interviewing people, but I'm on your show tonight. So you got the steering wheel.
okay. I promise not to drive you off a cliff, my brother. All right. Hold on. All right, let's get to. All right, so you just introduce yourself a little bit in terms of, and some people probably already know you, but you were a part of uh, you're a former Christian rapper. You're now agnostic slash atheist, right?
Hmm.
All right.
Yep.
You attended Westminster Seminary, right?
Westminster Theological Seminary after Lancaster Bible College and then Westminster Theological Seminary. Yep.
Okay. All right. Did you graduate from Westminster?
Graduated from both.
Oh, you did. So you have what degree do you have from there? Westminster.
From Lancaster, from Westminster, it's a Master of Arts in Religion.
Okay. All right. And you had to take Hebrew and Greek, or you just
Oh
decided to
yeah.
do it?
No. You have to. Westminster, you got to take 3 years of Hebrew and no, 3 semesters of Hebrew and 3 semesters of Greek.
Okay. All right. That's good, because a lot of programs don't do that unless you're doing an MDiv like I'm doing.
Hmm. No, even the MARs, you got to do that at Westminster.
Okay. No, that's interesting. That's good. Okay.
Yeah.
All
But you
right.
asked a little about me. So yeah, like you said, I spent the majority of my adult life, even before I became an adult, as a outspoken Christian and Christian rapper. What is Christian hip hop today? I don't say this to brag. This is just part of my resume and my legacy. What is Christian hip hop today is largely a result of the work that me and the Cross Movement did, and I wasn't doing that necessarily to win Grammys and all. We didn't win any, but we were Grammy nominated twice and all that. But our goal was to create a counterculture within hip hop culture, because
Okay.
we, as Christians, saw Jesus as Lord and wanted to make Jesus Lord of hip hop. And even people who were outside of that culture, I spent my, better years of my life, 30 years of my life, evangelizing the world, and became an apologist and defending the Christian faith against urban cults. And Jesus was my life. It wasn't just a religion. I thought I was in a relationship with God.
Okay.
Um, I never got married, but I was seeking a godly wife. I had several close calls where I was, about to pop the question, but trying to find a wife who was ministry, like ripe for ministry. Like, she would allow me to, Paul talks about those who are, if you're not married because of the present danger, the in light of the present, what do you say? In light of the present, whatever he said, like, if you're not married, don't seek to get married. If you are married, don't seek to get divorced because the time is short.
Right.
If you get married, you got to be concerned with, the things of this world and how to please your wife. And so
Right.
I was intent on I wanted to get married, but I would only get married if I could have the kind of marriage that would fit in what Paul seemed to be queuing believers up for. That you can also, you can be married, but you won't have to be taken away from the affairs of the Lord while you're married. And so not finding a wife who I thought would allow me to be as much in ministry as I thought I was called to be kept me from ever really getting married. But I lived the kind of life that I thought was going to please God for as many years as I could. And then it was 3/4 of the way through seminary that I began to get wind of things that made me say, okay, so it's not what I thought. And I need to give this more thought. I realized that my epistemic bar was so low for what I had believed and why I had believed it and how defensible I thought the Christian faith was, that 3/4 of the way through seminary, I got rocked and realized it wasn't what I thought. And I had to rethink everything. And I lived in denial for about 6 years of trying to pretend that my foundation hadn't gotten cracked when I was in seminary, but I knew it had happened. I told a few people in my circle that it had happened. But after 6 years of denial, I couldn't do it anymore. And I had to own my unbelief. And that was in 2021, where I owned the unbelief, even though a few years before then, I was already living the unbelief life certain days of the week, just trying to see which made more sense. And since 2021, it's been all unbelief. And so I've been, on Facebook every day, just helping people think through, asking questions to think through. Does this really make sense? Wrote a book about it. I do the podcast about why I don't think the Bible deserves faith. And outside of that, I have a whole life that I live that I don't put online. But yeah, so that's I think what matters for the conversation that we're going to have.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, one of the things that I did want to say, I hadn't necessarily planned to say it, but it's something that came to me as I was thinking about, how to address you. And it's something it struck me as I was listening to that main first video where you're sitting in like a t-shirt and you're explaining what happened. And I'm like, the thing that I noticed, and you can tell me if that was what you were trying to convey. Actually, I think you were being honest, but basically is this: most people who claim they were Christians and they leave the faith, they come out on the other side more antagonistic than you. Because what I saw is that you were almost bending over backwards trying to make sure people weren't hurt because you went the other way, that you went to unbelief. And I saw that was very unique because I think I've told you, let me see if I can I should have had this down. I wrote a book. Okay, this is my book. Okay. And it's against atheism and unbelief. I wrote this in 1998 or published it in 1998. But I put research into this 5+ years, right? And so before you hit seminary in 2011, it was 2011, right? Before you hit seminary, I had already written this and published it, arguing against atheism and unbelief. So it's like, it seems to me that you were just not prepared for what you went into when you got to Westminster, because I remember you saying you were dealing with like 5%ers and people like that, but those aren't the most intellectual people in the world. I know, because I'm originally from New York City. So I've dealt with 5%ers, Muslims, Hebrew Israelites, and, people like that. And I'm sure you've dealt with those in the past, those people, but they don't bring the same intellectual type of arguments. And so it seems to me, as I said in my series, that you came in not unprepared, where I was reading atheist stuff, humanist stuff for years. And I'm like, oh, you okay. And I'm like, this is illogical. That's not, and you're misrepresenting the Bible here. And I was like dealing with these people. And so that was one of the contrasts that I saw between us. That is okay.
Well,
And you're
I
free
don't
to
know
comment
if
on
that would have, yeah, I don't know if that would have really helped or like to prepare for, because it's not like I was in seminary and I got hit with atheism or I got hit with, you know what I mean, like those kind of ideas. There was no
Okay.
way to prepare. What I got hit with in seminary was a simple thought. A former professor who used to teach at the seminary wrote a book talking like evolution had validity. And
Okay.
I didn't even agree with him when I read it. I spiritually cursed him out when I read it. Like I laughed and tore his book to shreds. Peter Enns wrote a book called The Evolution of Adam. I'm like, I tore it to shreds,
I remember you. Yeah, you said that. Yeah.
particularly because he said, since we now know that there cannot be an Adam and Eve at the fountainhead of human history, Paul was wrong in Romans 5, but we still know that sin and death is a reality, and so we still need the gospel. I tore it to shreds. One, I didn't think evolution was true. And it wasn't until another professor at the school, I bragged to him about tearing this other guy's book to shreds, because the guy that wrote the book, they had fired him years before I got there. I got there 2011. They fired him in 2008.
Okay.
But they were still good friends. And so when I bragged to this other professor, like, yo, you know, Peter Enns, he talked about some da. I tore it to shreds. His response to me was two things. Well, pizza, dear friend, we just had dinner last night. I was like, oh shit. Like oh shoot, I was embarrassed. Like, I just tore your friend down in front of you. But then he said this. He said, and these are the books that influence him to think the way he's thinking about evolution. When you get a chance, you should read them. Now, I don't know if I do know now. At the time, I didn't know if he was saying that to say, hey, maybe you should read what he reads before you debunk it. You'll be a little more gracious. He could have been saying that, or he could have been saying, he's kind of right. I just can't say he's right because then I'll get fired too.
Okay.
It was him not dissing Peter Enns with me and telling me to read the things that Peter Enns read that made me say, are you trying to tell me that there's some truth to that?
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't go out and read the books. I was working 40 hours a week at a youth ministry and taking 12 credits in seminary and writing Christian fiction. I said, I can't go read the books now. Right. One day I will. So one day, it took me 6 years to read the stuff he told me to read. So it wasn't atheism. It wasn't evolution. It wasn't any of that. But the one thing that pushed me the direction I went was I said, okay, you're talking like Peter Enns has some merit in what he's saying. Mm-hmm. And I don't have the time to read that stuff now. So what can I do in the meantime? Okay, here's what I'll do. I'll have two minds the rest of my time in seminary. This is 2014. I'm saying this. I'm going to have one mind that's just as strong as it always was. I'm taking this all in because I know I'm going to use this in ministry. But I'm going to have another mind that says, what if Peter Enns was right? What if evolution was true? And if it is true, what would I find? And because if it's true, there are just certain things in the Bible that can't be true, at least not literally. It can be figuratively, can't be literally true if evolution is true. And I said, so if evolution is true, just what would you find? Oh, well, then you'd have to find another way to explain this. This actually might be a contradiction now if you can't take that person. And before I knew it, all the what ifs of what would you find if evolution was true? Because like I said, it took me 6 years to get to evolution. It was just, what about the Bible would have to change if evolution was true? And all the things about the Bible that would have to change, I kept finding, oh, I can't take that literally anyway. How come I never saw that before? How come I never, and page after page of stuff I never saw as a Bible believing, and I'm going to add the word fundamentalist Christian, stuff I never saw was now jumping out at me. I'm like, yo, like, I don't want to see this stuff. So a year later, when I graduated in 2015, I told God, I said, yo, I can't see you in this book anymore. I need to see you in the world, because every time I go to this book, it's another contradiction. It's another, this don't make sense. And I spent the next 3 or 4 years looking for God to move in ways that would affirm my faith. And I gave God the benefit of the doubt for 3 or 4 years. And then finally around 2019, I said, I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop giving God the benefit of the doubt, because I'm praying for things and things are happening, but I could trace the natural. I'm going to shut up in a second. I'm sorry.
No,
I
you're
could
good.
trace the natural threads to how did I end up teaching at this school? And I was teaching at 4 schools. 3 of them were Christian schools. No, 2 were Christian schools, 2 were secular. A Christian university, a Christian college, the community college, and then a high school. And me and my Christian friends, we were praying that God would put me in positions to teach. I'm teaching at 4 schools. I'm like, yeah, God, see, I knew you were real because you did this. And then I said, but damn, all 4 of the schools I'm teaching at, I'm there because, one, I'm fanatic from Cross Movement, and I know the dean here, I know the principal here, I know that this person. How do I know this is God and just not the natural flow of things? I said, I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop helping God out. I'm going to stop giving God the benefit of that. Do something that I can't explain any other way. And you know what happened? Nothing.
Okay.
God vanished at that moment when I stopped giving God the benefit of the doubt. When I stopped speaking to myself in a God tone. Brady, I love you. I've got your back. I'm going to prosper you. I'm not going to. I stopped speaking to myself in a God tone and said, no, you speak for yourself.
Okay.
Silence. And even that still didn't take me to atheism. It took me a couple years, even after 2019, to get there. So I just say all that to say, I didn't jump to atheism. That was the default position after years of silence from heaven when I stopped putting words in God's mouth. So sorry for that long spill, but that's my response to that.
Okay. No, you're good. I want you to feel free to express yourself, just like I'm going to express myself,
Exactly.
Right. So, but like I said, but, okay. I get that. I'm going to piggyback off that just a little bit because remember, I did say I wanted, because you were in the Christian rap field, I did want to get your opinion of certain things. Like there's a specific guy I have in mind, but because you did that for a number of years, right? Christian rap, right?
From 1992 to 2015.
Okay, so a good amount of time. So you still have a feel for what's good rap, what's bad rap, and all that, right? I'm sure.
I might disappoint you because I only got into rap because I was passionate about the gospel. I love the art form.
Right.
Even before I started doing it, I love the art form. But in terms of doing it, I only got into it to tell the gospel. And once I stopped believing the gospel,
right,
I stopped really caring about I still care about the art form, but I don't check in with the culture like that anymore. Like, I got to hear from other people what's going on. So I don't know what's good today. I know what's good to me.
Okay. All right. No, that's fair enough. I'm just figuring that after you've done something, like when you ride a bike, you can't forget how to ride a bike. Not, after a long time, you may be a little rusty, but you still have that, the motor systems in your body are still going to be like, oh yeah, this is how I ride a bike. Your balance.
I would like to think that's true. So go ahead.
All right. But basically, yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I'm sure you've heard of Lecrae. You even wrote about it. You mentioned him in your book, right?
In which book? Not this one.
No, this one. This one, right?
In that book?
Gaslight.
No.
You mentioned Lecrae?
Not in that book.
Yeah, no. You did.
Oh no! When I talked about the legacy of Cross Movement, yeah, I do mention him.
Yeah, because I was like, I know I
you may not
Lecrae's
know
name on page 6. It says right here.
yeah, the legacy of Cross.
But you may not know. Maybe you
know. Maybe you do know. I wrote an entire book about Lecrae's method called The Art of Christianity back in 2014.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
And that was after you deconverted?
No. I was still a believer at the time. I think it was maybe 2013, 2014. When he started doing the church clothes and I'm not a Christian rapper, I wrote a book talking about the validity of his method and the invalidity or the unvalidness of it, how it might and how it might not be valid for him to take the Christian label off of what he's doing in art. So that was that book back then when I really cared about all that.
Okay, I didn't even know that. Okay, it's good to know. All right. Yeah, because you were saying this, that our record label introduced the world to other artists such as Flame, The Truth, and most notably Lecrae.
Yep.
Yeah, page 6. So just real quick, what do you think of Lecrae's in general? Like, is he good, bad, ugly, what?
I can only speak on Lecrae, and I see I'm frozen. I'll unfreeze in a second.
Yeah, I see.
I can only speak on Lecrae Yeah, I can only speak on Lecrae up until maybe 2013, 2014.
Because
I think he's a. Yeah, I haven't listened. Matter of fact, I did listen to the album he came out with earlier this year. I thought it was a great album, the one he came out with earlier this year.
Okay.
I don't even know what the name of it was, but I just listened to it straight through when I was in the gym one day. Haven't gone back to it, but I think it was probably the thing about Lecrae that I remember, and I remember DJ Official told us this back in the day. Lecrae is great at figuring out what's hot and becoming that. And on the album that I heard earlier this year, he became what I feel like is hot right now. And I enjoyed it, just the artistic nature of it. Outside of that, in terms of whether or not what he's doing is ministry or all that, or how is he doing with it, I can't even speak on any of that.
Okay, no, that's fine. That's fine. Fair enough. Okay, all right. Are you aware of any other Christian rappers like JB?
Never heard of him.
Never heard of JB?
Nope.
Oh, okay. I should probably queue up some JB because.
When did he come out? Post 2015?
Well, no. He's been with. Actually, he started with Lecrae, but I guess he felt he needed to move out and branch out. He left Lecrae at Reach Records.
Okay.
I'm not sure where he's at now, but yeah.
Wait. Do you mean KB?
Oh my! Did I say JB?
Somebody in the chat just threw it in there. Yeah, KB. Oh yeah, KB. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
That was my man.
I said JB.
Yeah.
Did I say JB?
Yeah.
Oh, I forgive me. You know, I'm originally from New York. I'm a Knicks fan, and so I might have been thinking about Jalen Brunson, but you got to forgive me, right?
Yeah, KB. That was my man back in the day. I was on his.
Okay, KB. So you do know who KB is, though?
Yes, sir.
All right. Yeah. I like his style of mixing contemporary with old school gospel like that. And the stupid part about it is, I'll just say this real quick, is I had slept on KB a little bit on that song. He called 10,000 Reasons. It comes from that song, Bless the Lord, Oh My Soul. And that part of the line of that, part of the line in that song is that there are 10,000 reasons for believing that kind of thing. And I put that on, and I'm bumping that in my car almost every day. I mean, the bass line is just incredible. And the reason why I kind of bring this stuff up is because I started out listening to hip hop and rap, and I was there when the Sugar Hill Gang came out, and that just blew all over the place. And I've been listening to rap and hip hop for years. And then when Christian started doing it, I was like, whoa. Okay. But, and I don't know if you can testify to this, but maybe you can, probably can. But what I noticed is they were more concerned about being biblical than actually doing great music and beats. And
who in particular?
No one in particular. It's just that's something I saw because they would be rapping scripture, but it came off as kind of corny and it wasn't where the world was in terms of.
So my understanding of that history is.
Yeah, go ahead.
My understanding of that history is Christian hip hop was not concerned about being biblical until cross movement came along. And when cross movement came along, we were not just biblical. We were on par. Now, I guess we were a year or two behind because our record label was small and it took us a long time to get our stuff out. But our music was on par with what the hip hop sound that we were trying to rival was. So I had a line in one of my songs that says, people be screaming like, what's this new thing looking like a Christian Wu-Tang? And literally you could put our stuff on and not feel like you went down in quality from what you were listening to with Wu-Tang. So the biblical Christian rap, from my understanding, was not cheesy. Now, maybe when you get, and I'm not trying to diss nobody,
right?
Maybe when you get deeper into the Reformed theology cats, and I don't think this is a matter of you being Christian. I think it's a matter of being lyrical. Like the more lyrical the artist is, the less they're going to be concerned about their music a lot of the times. Like if you listen to, I haven't listened to it, but I see the talk. Nas just came out with a new album entirely produced by DJ Premier. And people on the internet all over the country are dissing the album. Is my mic still good?
Yeah, you're good. I'm hearing you.
Sometimes my mic messes up. People are dissing the album because they say DJ Premier's music on this album is like it's not hitting. But that was one of Nas's Achilles heels his entire career, is the more like as a lyricist, you don't always choose the best music because you're so concerned about your lyrics. So I can't say that the biblical Christian hip hop was cheesy, but I do know the more lyrical the artist. So I think about people like Shylin and Timothy Brindle and maybe even Evangel. The more lyrical they are, and me, I'm probably the one guy from Cross Movement who has a history of not choosing the best beats, but I'm probably the most lyrical guy from Cross Movement. But that's just that's a handicap of lyrical artists. It's not really about being Christian and cheesy. It's just it's the more lyrical you are, you're probably not going to pay enough attention to your music. That's my take on it, but you may have a different.
Okay. Yeah, I think you came out, you and Cross Movement, I think came out a little after, because I'm talking like the very beginnings of Christian rap.
All right, if you're talking like Stephen Wiley and things like that, then okay, I got you.
Okay. I'm not even sure who that is, but I'm just saying like the very beginnings. I remember it was just they were, I mean, I remember a song where they were going First Thessalonians 4, 15,
okay, nah,
17.
It was way before my time with that.
I'm just no. I'm just giving you, yeah. And yeah, it's great. That was exactly the passage, and they were accurate biblically, but they weren't. The creativity and the music and the beats were not on par with the world. But as I've watched it over time, what I've seen is a transition. It's like the Christians kept getting better and better and better and better. And then the Cross Movement came along. You guys were better than way back. And then people like KB, Lecrae, and others come along. I'm like, at least me personally, I think they've surpassed the world to a degree that I don't know anyone who could rap about the Bible, be accurate biblically, have a solid beat and all of that. I don't think anybody can do that. Even Kanye, he tried it, but he
wasn't the same.
Huh?
It wasn't the same.
No, but he wasn't as biblically sound as, like a KB. All right. I did say KB, just want to make
Well, okay. I'll give credit where credit is due. I think there's one thing Christianity has done, especially for the arts, right? Or at least hip hop, Christian hip hop. When I listen to hip hop today and I hear people, I don't think people understand what it took for Christian rappers to create bar after bar after bar after bar of impressive lyrics and not be cursing and not be defaulting to the low-hanging fruit of talking about what I own or what chicks I'm knocking off. Like the skill it takes to be able to create Christian rap and have 3/16 or probably longer, because Christian's got a lot to say, to put all that together and then to have a subject like God. Like one of the things one of my favorite books when I was a Christian was Knowledge of the Holy, right? A.W. Tozer. In the beginning, he talks about, God being the highest subject that you could ever contemplate.
Okay.
And I think in a lot of ways there's some truth to that. The idea that if there is a creator who's responsible for our reality, this creator's nature, this creator's intent and will is a lofty subject that I don't know if you can get higher than that if there is such a thing. And so to be contemplating that and to want your art to reflect that, like I said a minute ago, I was not good as a rapper when I first started. Okay. But the more appreciation I gained for the Christian message, the more I began to say it deserves a better effort to tell it. I got better, I got good, and then got better as a rapper. And that was just a reflection of my appreciation of the subject matter. And so I do think there's something to the Christian in art that if you think your subject matter is the highest subject matter there is, what are you doing with this high subject matter and this low art? And so you raise your art to what you think is going to match or at least reflect that subject matter. So I can see how somebody could think that whether it be, Jewish or Islam or Christian, if your music is matching your faith, it should be a high art.
Right. Okay. I agree with that. But yeah, I'm just giving you a little history. And like I said, I even was a part of managing a Christian rap group back in New York at Calvary Baptist, New York City. They call themselves, and it's almost embarrassing, but it's been over 20 years. So, but I had to think, what was the name of the group? What was the name? I got to be able to tell them the name of the group. And I finally remember they called themselves the Elements of Christ. And we went places, and it was small, it was just mostly a church thing. We had different evangelistic efforts, and we had them out there. But yeah, man. So it's not like, and that's a kind of the thing we have in common that I wanted you to understand. So yeah, man. Let me real quick ask you, how much time can you spare?
I'm
Like we've
good.
gone 30 minutes
I
plus.
blocked off the evening. It's whatever.
Oh, okay. We can do 3 hours now.
Hey, it's
No,
your
I
channel. It's all
appreciate
good.
no, seriously, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. But of course, you got a life. I got a life. I got to pick my wife up in, let's see, in about I'd say an hour or so. But
Okay, well let's
basically,
dive in there.
okay, yeah. Because basically, I was thinking we can do an hour/hour and a half because I don't like to make my videos too long because it gets it gets too
Yeah.
long, and when I'm looking at videos, I'm saying 2 hours. Okay, I don't even if I'm interested in the subject, 2 hours. I don't have time to look at 2 hour video,
All
and
good.
yeah, and so I just wanted to check your time, just to honor your time. All right, so I appreciate you once
Appreciate
again
that.
coming on the Warrior Channel, and as you can see, you're still alive. You haven't been hurt yet. No, you're okay. All right. You're all right. So there was nothing to fear but fear itself, as that saying goes. But let me I wanted to ask you about this, but let me see. I gotta share my screen here. All right.
Mhm.
I wanted to ask you about this particular, your opinion of this right here. This
Mm. Mm.
battle rap. My people going into that field, which is cool.
What do you want to know?
And what our real weapons are. So check me. If you get lost, follow a leader.
all right, just let it play for a minute.
I keep a rhyme tucked for young bucks that challenge me. I could lose, God might need to balance me, humble me, in case I'm on my Muhammad Ali, thinking I'm a sting like a bumblebee. Stop spicing, pride is deadly like ricin. Hold up, give me space like a hyphen. My God is a beast, bison, multiply by 10, bicentennials, frightening. He's striking like a swing and a miss, or like lightning with a kite string tied to a key on your wrist. I'm sorry if I've been frank, man, but I'm from Philly, so I'll be on my Ben Franklin. They're like fanatic is spitting. It's not the green Philly mascot rocking the baseball mitten. Your face all twisted like napalm just hit the spot. Cause you rocking to what they call Christian hip hop. No Glocks, no shots being fired. No rocks tucked in our socks while the cops ride by us. I got nothing but love for the police, and I pray for them all to know Jesus and know peace. Cause if they don't know Jesus, no peace. Cause Jesus really did hang, y'all, no peace. But he rose, those are just the ABCs. I mean, that's elemental, no P's.
Hi.
I said he rose, and those are just the ABCs. I mean, that's elemental. Look,
All right. So I'm sure you know who that is, and I brought Brother Tim because he does Christian rap. All right. So real quick, I want to give you my opinion. I'm gonna be honest with you. Before you had come out and and was saying you were leaving the Christian faith, I did not know about you really. I knew I had an idea the cross movement, but I don't know. I didn't know all of the different groups and the cross movement.
Mm-hmm.
I remember hearing of them. I think I might have heard something here and there, but they weren't like the forefront of my mind. And I didn't even know you did this until after you did your deconversion and
Mm-hmm.
did that video. Then I looked and I was looking around and said, "What is this guy doing?" And I'm like, "Yo, I like that. That's nice. I like that. The lyricism, the beat, and everything." So I got some questions for you. What happened to this guy? That guy,
Like
right?
I said a minute, yeah, he's I want to say he's gone, but
Uh-huh.
it's weird because in some ways I'm the same guy, but in other ways that guy is gone. Like on Facebook, my name on Facebook is Brady Fanatic Goodwin. It's not Fanatic anymore. It's Fanatic because Fanatic was short for Jesus Christ Fanatic. That's who I was. When I was in high school, I became a Christian when I was in high school, and my social science teacher was talking about religious fanatics in
Okay.
history. And she said fanatics are people that take it too far. And around that time, me and Ambassador, we used to kick it. The Ambassador is another guy from Cross Movement. Right. And we used to always say, we're going to overdo it with Jesus to make up for all the people that are underdoing it. And so I adopted the name fanatic because I said I wanted to overdo it. Winston Churchill said, a fanatic is somebody who can't change his mind and won't change the subject. That's who I was as a Christian. And even if I allowed the subject to change, I would always find some kind of way to bring it back to Jesus. That guy is dead. But in another way, he's still around in the sense that, so I got a Christian who gets mad at me sometimes because no matter what the post is on Facebook, I seem to have this unique knack, and I think this comes from Fanatic. It could be a post that has nothing to do with religion, and I'll take it and share it, and I'll put a spin on it to show you how even this mindset could help somebody deconstruct from a theistic worldview. He's like, yo, this ain't got nothing to do with God. Why you keep bringing God into stuff? I'm like, yo, I'm deconstructing from being a fanatic. And as fanatic, I still have that knack of, oh, I could turn that into a conversation about God. It just won't be pro-God anymore. It'll probably be anti. So, okay. All right, that guy may be still around, but he's not around the way he used to be.
All right, I can see that, but let me ask you this also, because I was curious. So since I got you, let me ask: did you write that?
What do you mean?
Did you write the rap, the words?
Yes. So in the video, you see me sitting down in the studio with a pen and pad. I never write rhymes. All my rhymes are done up here. So I didn't write it down literally, but I composed it all up here. Yes.
It's dope.
My process of writing rhymes is I used to ride around the city of Philadelphia and look at the people that I wanted to write to and just write in my head as I'm listening to instrumentals. So I wrote every line that you ever heard me spit, except for on When I Flow, which is a Cross Movement song. There's a couple verses on there where we all wrote together. But other than that, if you hear me spitting it, I wrote it. Okay.
All right. But you never actually wrote it down at some point? You always did it in your head?
That's dope.
Okay. That's interesting. All right. So, but like I said, I mean, I really like a lot of the things you said. That's why I was going to intend to play it a little further, but I know you know it, and everybody doesn't know. But I mean, you had some really nice lines in that, talking about the gas mask and the hazmat suits, and so I mean, I'm telling you that's some good stuff. Now, I got brother Tim. What do you think of that rhyme? I know you didn't. Have you heard that before, or is this the first time you're hearing this?
Oh yeah, I used to listen to Fanatic stuff. I think that's sick. I didn't know that came off straight off the dome, because that's something.
So no, not off the dome, not off the dome. I'm writing it line by line in my head, memorizing the line that I had before, and then adding to it the next time I say it. It's not a freestyle as much as it is written in my mind. But yeah, go ahead.
So kind of like what Jay-Z does. Like Jay-Z's he doesn't have to write. He can just write everything in his own head. Yeah. I think that's awesome, bro. I just it's just wow. that's sick. For you to be able to do that is dope, because for me, because I and that's like one of the greatest challenges. And by the way, Christopher Warrior, this is the nicest cage match I've ever seen. and I would clearly say Brady is definitely winning this fight right now.
we haven't even gotten into the material yet, though.
That's what I'm saying. Now we're listening to his music. Like, dude, he's gotten everyone, bro. No, but
it's like, go ahead.
No. But I was just gonna say, yeah, that is absolutely incredible. But the influence that you have, right? I do have a question. Even if you're an atheist now, do you still, in a sense, would you still go as far as training like Christian hip hop artists who are coming up in the game and pointing them in the right direction, or have you completely just separated from it altogether?
Yeah, I had a pastor recently come to me and ask me if I would manage or mentor his son in Christian rap. I'm like, bro, you know who I am right now? Like,
right.
Well, first of all, I don't think many Christians would want to hear a Christian rapper who's being mentored by an atheist. An outspoken atheist at that. So I wouldn't want to do that to them. I feel like I'd be hurting their career if I did that to them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that was overall. I was also going to ask some questions in regards, but we can wait for that until later on, so you can
Mhm.
get to the material and stuff. Because I heard some of your talking points of why you walked away from the faith, and
Mhm.
I would completely, some of it I think is spot on. With, they're not bad reasons when it comes down to the social justice aspect of the unfairness and the treatment of the church that the church has, has exhibited to others. But outside of that, man, we can get into all that later. So I'll let you guys
Okay.
continue.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right. So, but generally speaking, you like that rhyme, right? Right, Tim?
Oh yeah, that was sick. That was sick.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's what I was like. What happened to this dude right here, man? I like that
Hmm.
dude. All right. All right. So
Yeah.
let's see. I'm gonna pull it. Let me get rid of that right now. All right.
And shout out to if I can just shout out real quick to
Yeah.
DJ Average Joe, who was in that video. I was recording that at his studio, and I'm looking forward to getting back in touch with DJ Average Joe. So go ahead.
Okay. All right. All right, I'm gonna put you back in the background real quick, brother Tim.
No problem.
All right. Yeah. Yeah. I also wanted to ask you, what year was that? Did you did that rap?
That was 2016, I believe it was. Whenever I came out with the album, The Art of Battle Rap, me and Stephen Brindle, we did a joint album release party. His album had something about the name Battle in it, and mine was called The Art of Battle Rap. So we did a joint album release. So that was either 2015 or 2016. That's the last Christian project that I did. That was
Oh,
back when I was fighting for my faith and in denial.
At that point you were fighting for your faith, and you were in Westminster at that time when you did that, right? Is that it?
No, I graduated in 2015. And
Oh,
I
okay.
think I wrote that right around the time of graduation or something like that.
Oh, okay. All right. All right. Okay. All right. So, let me get to your book. And I apologize if it seems like we're going kind of long and going around, but I think it's important to get into a lot of various things.
And I mean, I know you got to pick your wife up in not too long. This doesn't have to be the last time that we do this. So we don't have to do everything right now either.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. One thing you haven't. Well, once at some point you might check out my channel and see I have things on various topics, mostly doing the Christian apologetics. So I try to be thorough and almost to a fault. Okay. I mean, I check footnotes in books. I don't just read the book.
Mm-hmm.
You'll see me out. Oh, okay, let me check that. I'll be checking footnotes. That's how thorough I can be. But I want to get to your book. This is the Let There Be Gaslight. So I picked it up, checked it out.
Mm-hmm.
And as I say in my video series, I predicted some of the things you were going to say because I had read atheist work, for years ahead of that. And so I predicted some certain things you would say, and then you did say what I predicted based on your newfound unbelief, right? But and I try to be fair. This is one of the things I think your buddy Josh Bowen saw in me when we talked. Well, not talked, but as I talked and I explained my position, like I'll say, an atheist isn't wrong because he's an atheist. It depends on the facts that the person is bringing. So, Mr. Brady or Mr. Goodwin can say the sky is blue, and if we can all look up and see the sky is blue, then even though he's agnostic atheist, he's still correct. You got people who they have an idea that because this person's an atheist or agnostic or whatever, that they kind of dismiss almost everything they say. And I'm like, no, you got to listen to what they're saying in order to see if it's what's right and what's wrong. You can't just dismiss, oh, he's an atheist, I'm not going to listen to him. So that's one of the things I've said. And so one of the things I really like about your book, and I
wait, you like something about the book?
Huh?
You like something about the book?
Yes. Now
I've never heard you say. Now, granted, I haven't listened to a lot, but from what I've heard, I've never heard one kind thing about the book from you.
Well, the thing is, when I wrote my review and I looked over it again, I said, you know what, I could have been a little.
There was no charity at all.
I could have been more charitable to you, but I guess it's one of those things where I looked at you as a traitor to the faith, a turncoat, and so my spikes came on, and I was like, I'm going to close on this guy. So so that I think you can relate, because I think you did the same thing when you were in seminary to a degree. But that I think that's where that came from. But as I was rereading it over the week, because I work 40 hours and stuff, sometimes more. But so I'm going back over it, and I was saying to myself, okay, I could have been a little more charitable. You did write well for the most part. You wrote all of that, right? You didn't get ghostwriters or nothing like that.
No, I don't use Chat GPT. I don't. If it comes from me, it comes from me.
Oh, no, okay, no, because I'm just making sure. Sometimes people have ghostwriters and all that, or I'm sure you did get someone to help edit the book, right?
Yes, for sure. I had an editor. Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right.
Shout out to Gwen. If y'all know Gwen on my Facebook page, Gwen is the one who edited the book. Okay,
yeah, because I caught some typographical errors, spelling errors, but that's minor stuff here and there. But
you won't catch any in the second edition. You got the first edition. You won't catch. I guarantee you won't catch any in the second edition. I challenge anybody to find a typo in the second edition.
Okay, we might see. All right, but I'm going to post on the screen. This is one of the things you said I really liked, and I agree with it 100% right there. The truth of the matter
is that truth matters, honesty matters, integrity matters. Okay,
yeah. I even said in my video series that you haven't looked at yet. Hopefully one day you'll look at it. But yeah, I said, okay, I agree with that 100%. The problem comes in, though, when I look at your book and I read your book, there's some things that I'm like, well, if truth matters and honesty matters, why do you have certain things in your book that shouldn't be in there? So we're going to get into some of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you can explain what the deal is. Okay, we're going to get to, we're going to get to a couple of things here.
All right.
Let me see if I can put this in here. Yeah, I have a Word file that I put a couple of notes on. Let me see if I can post this in the chat for all to see. If not, well, actually, yeah, because now you said you use StreamYard too, right?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, StreamYard is really nice. I don't know what your experience with it is. I like it, and they've added a lot of new features. I'm still learning some of them.
Okay.
But let's see. Okay, I'm just trying to. All right. But yeah, they got a lot of new features that I like.
Yeah, I haven't. I've never explored it. I use it on the most basic level. So
okay. You have the free version or you paid?
I pay, but I don't. I'll tell you a little a hack. I don't know if you pay the top dollar for them or if you've figured out how to get the cheaper offer from them. But I'll put you down with that if you haven't done it already.
Oh, okay. All right, but yeah. I think I paid $50. All right. So I said, man,
we gotta holler.
What was that?
I gotta. There's a much cheaper way to get it from the full version for less. I'll put you down with that after we get done with this.
Okay. All right. Cool. All right. Now, in your book on page 244, you make this claim. Okay. The Greco-Roman god Dionysus was born of a virgin.
I knew you were going right there.
Yeah, I had to.
I knew you were going there.
I had to. I had to. I have to ask that question because, see, in the book, and I have it right here. In the book, when you make this, go ahead.
Can I just? That's not in the second edition, and I actually have you and other people to thank for that. In the second edition, I don't include that. I didn't. Honestly, just letting you know, when I was looking for New Testament data to include, because one of the things you'll realize about the book, I spent a lot of time dealing with early Genesis and a lot of time dealing with the way Paul differs with what's happening in the early Genesis.
Right.
Only have about 1.5 chapters on the New Testament, and I just was grabbing at straws at that point. And so I got a hold of this information. I forgot what I was looking at when I pulled this information, and didn't realize that this was after the Gospels. And so in my second edition, I didn't include this. So whatever you'd like to say about it, feel free, but I'm not standing behind that.
Okay. So, all right, but let me just make a quick point, because in the book, in this first, I guess the first edition, okay, you made this claim, and usually, well, from time to time, you have the footnotes and say where you got this from. So, so are you saying that this statement here in your book is not true, and you exit out of your second edition? Is that what you're saying?
When I say, so to be honest with you, I don't remember what made me take it out. I don't know if it was that. I don't know if we could say it's not true in terms of what the story they tell about Dionysus, or if this detail about Dionysus was developed after the Gospels. And so it doesn't really have any bearing on whether or not the Gospels were copying this detail. I don't remember offhand. It's been so long since I looked at that particular data point. So I don't remember.
Okay. All right. So you don't recall where you got that data point?
I don't.
Okay, no, that's fine. But that's just one of the little things I found problematic, because the reason, and I say this because, again, if the literature, and I would say, because it's all kind of literature, but if the mostly primary source information doesn't explain that, then I'm like, okay, where did you get that from? And then you didn't make it good for yourself by not having a footnote to say, oh, I got this from here. So what in my reasoning, because on page 44, you referenced historian and atheist Richard Carrier, I figured you might have gotten it from him, but, of course I wasn't sure where you got it from, but contextually, you're talking about Carrier, and then you go into, for instance, the Greco-Roman god Dionysus, also known as Bacchus, was born of a virgin, and his blood was wine to be shared in the Eucharist, observed by his worshipers. And then you talk about this myth.
Now, I do still stand behind that part, even though I don't think that's in the book anymore.
What part is that?
That his blood was wine, and there was a Eucharist around the cult that developed around him. Like, that stuff is true.
Okay, yeah, but even in that, I don't find any credible historical evidence that says that. Now, what I do find is that later people are trying to make connections, okay, with what's in the Gospels, but as far as going back to like the early primary sources, things like that, I don't find that's a credible claim. And so, like I said, it could have been, both of them could have been true, but when I looked at them, I was like, wait a minute, I'm gonna have to ask him about this stuff.
Yeah,
and then
there are several tropes about Dionysus that do predate Jesus that show up in the Jesus story. I'm not off the top of my head. I don't know what they are, so I wouldn't be able to tell you, like, because check out this source here. But there are tropes about Jesus that mirror several of the Greek gods, and Dionysus is one of them, or demigods, I should say.
No, I understand, with tropes, but the problem with tropes sometimes is that people can, what's the word I'm looking for? It's almost like
they can make too much of it sometimes, or
it's kind of like that. Actually, I don't know if because you did mention this particular. Actually, I found out about this person because you mentioned him, and I actually got in contact with him and got his book, John Oswalt. You mentioned this book, okay. And I actually had him on the channel a couple of times, speaking about his book and what he was saying. And he was talking about how the Bible is different from what you might call myth, and he was making some pretty interesting points. And a lot of times, what as with my studies, what I've seen is, and I think Dr. Oswald made a very valid point here, because on page 100 of his book, and this goes to how people can sometimes take what you might call superficial similarities and blow them out of proportion, right? And so he has a chart here on page 100 where he has the Enuma Elish. All right, that's an ancient document that people say that possibly or that definitely the Genesis author or authors, they borrowed or copied from that. And so he has a chart with the Enuma Elish on the left and Genesis on the right. And, it has basic things like divine spirit, with the Enuma Elish, divine spirit, cosmic matter are coexistent and co-eternal. In Genesis, divine spirit creates cosmic matter and exists independently of it.
He's wrong.
Right?
He's wrong on that point. So I have a chart. I'm looking for it now. I have a chart as well that shows the comparison between Genesis and not just the Enuma Elish, but several of the ancient Near East, Mesopotamian, Babylonian myths. But even in what he said right there about in Genesis, because one of the reasons why I quoted him, I didn't get as deep into it as I would have liked. But when he says things like, in Genesis, the story starts where there is no nature, because I'm pretty sure he believes in creation ex nihilo. That's not how Genesis begins. And I do a whole chapter in my book where I talk about how Christians ended up thinking that Genesis 1 begins with creation ex nihilo. But John Oswald is wrong on that point. And I would love to spend time talking about why I'm able to say that. But go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, he's giving a chart. I don't even think it's his chart. I can double check it, but I'm just giving you what the chart said. Well, I can do a quick show it to you real quick. Yep. That's his chart. So I'm just reading to you what the chart says. And again, I don't think it's his chart. He's just presenting it. Right.
It might be. I mean, he's not a slouch. I just don't agree with him. I think there's evidence, readily available evidence, that Genesis doesn't begin the way that most evangelical Christians think it begins.
Okay, we can get to that at some point. But basically, he's just giving the chart and all the things that are shown as similar. A light emanating from the gods, light created, the creation of the creation of the firmament. So it seems like there's a lot of overlap, and with this chart, it seems like, it looks like these are almost exactly the same. And one of the things he writes, and I'm just going to read this here. On the surface, the listing seems conclusive. The two understandings are identical. However, when one reads the two passages side by side, one will reach very different conclusions. And then he goes into detail about the different lines that are actually in the Enuma Elish and all that. And I don't want to bore the audience with all those details, but there is something he said that I thought was very interesting and enlightening. And I want to get your comment on this, because he put it in a footnote. And I like to write in my books, put little things there. I put great point by this, right? All right. And then he says in his footnote, the same thing is true in the case of many other supposed identical parallels. If one merely lists the characteristics of a human being and a dog, for instance, one nose, two eyes, two ears, hair, circulatory system, etc., one will certainly conclude the two are essentially identical. However, if you actually put the two side by side, you'll reach a very different conclusion. Your comments on that?
Yeah, if you can just pull up, can you put on the screen the image that I'm trying to share? Do you see it?
Okay. All right. Give me 1 second. All right. Just give me 1 second here. All right. Come on, add. Oh, there we go.
I feel like Christians. Can you take your the falsehood one off the screen for me just for a second?
All right. I got you. Hold on.
Yep.
Yeah, there we go. All right.
All right.
What are you looking at here?
John Oswald talks about, if you see these similarities, there's a dog in this story and a dog in this story. Oh, they must have copied. I think Christians, a lot of time, they downplay the similarities between the Bible and other myths. So if it's kind of small, I'll just read for you some of the similarities, right?
Yeah, so it's kind of small, but
yeah, at the top. In Genesis 1:6, God separates the primordial waters to create. Genesis 1:6, right? God separates the waters above and the waters below so that he can create. Well, in Enuma Elish, what happens at the beginning? A god separates a goddess. You might say, oh, well, in one story, God separates the waters above from the waters below. In the other story, the god separates a goddess. But what does the goddess in the other story represent? The goddess represents, when he splits her body in half, he used one half of her body to create heaven and another half of her body to create the earth. Do you think that's do you think that similarity is insignificant, or do you think that that's a pretty significant similarity?
Well, I mean, there is a similarity, but
how significant is it though? In one story, God separates the waters above from the waters below, creates heaven and earth. The other story, God separates a goddess and uses her body to create heaven and earth.
I mean, to me, it's a significant difference, because you're talking about God separating waters, which are not beings, whereas we're talking about a goddess that essentially or fictitiously or mythologically is another being, and separating that being and creating waters. I think that's
no, not creating waters, creating heavens and earth.
What was that?
God is not creating waters, he's creating heavens and earth with her body that he separated. And then, as if that wasn't enough.
I see that. But yeah, I think
there's another story, an Egyptian story. There's another story, an Egyptian story, a tomb, where the god uses its breath to separate a god, and the god is he separates the gods, and once again, out of the gods, he creates heaven and earth. So this is a common theme, and a lot of times Christians don't see the connection, because in the Bible you have, depending on how you translate Genesis chapter 1 verse 2, you either have the Spirit of God hovering over the waters, or you have a wind or the breath of God hovering over the waters. And the way I take Genesis 1:2 is you have the wind of God or the breath of God holding back the heavens and the earth.
Real quick. Is your mic like kind of distorting? Or is that me? Yeah, because I got some people saying that there's lots of static.
Better now?
What was that?
Right. Is it better now? Is it better now?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that. I'll just make it quick. I'll wrap up. Thanks, y'all, for letting me know the mic was off. There's several stories, Egyptian stories, different stories, where a god is using its breath to separate heaven and earth, and they're gods named heaven and earth. The whatever the names are in Egyptian or in Mesopotamia, their gods are heaven and earth, and he separates them with his breath. In Genesis 1:2, I don't think that it's a good translation to say that it's the Spirit of God hovering. I think it's a wind from God that's holding back the heavens and the earth and separating them. And then at some point, God puts a dome there to take over and do the job that the wind was doing. I think that's the same thing you see in these other stories as in Genesis 1:6. And this entire list, you can go down from whether it be the story of Adapa and the fruit of life, or whether it be the plant of life. These are stories that are not just insignificantly similar, as John Oswald would like to try to make it seem. That's the only thing I'm saying there, and I'll leave it at that. You can take it off the screen now.
All right. Let me see. Oh, I take it off the screen. Okay. All right.
I mean, that's in the book, actually. That's in chapter 7, I think, of the book.
Of your book?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I think we even went over that. And when I had him on.
Josh?
Not Josh.
John Oswald.
Yeah. Oswald. Yeah. Dr. Oswald. Yeah, I think we went over that. And what you put up there was very similar to what he had in his book. But I think one of the things that I love about that point he made was that if you superficially look at animals and us, it was funny how, let me see, you put this up. See, let me change our orientation real quick, because I don't want this to, oops. Okay. All right. So So we were talking about that comment that he made, right, about the dog and how if you look at superficial similarities, you could think we're identical, but we're not really. And so we were talking about that, and it was just interesting because I put this up here. All right. I put that up for Dr. Oswald, and he just cracked up. I just remember because it was to his point. Because, yeah, a human and a dog do have very identical things: eyes, nose, mouth, ears, but they're not the same.
Well, even in that,
yeah, go ahead.
But see, our worldviews are going to come into play here, because even that, to say that they're not the same is not to say that they're not related. Like evolutionarily, we are related to canines. Like there are certain genes that show in our DNA that show that the genes have been turned off, or that they're now defunct, that in their DNA it's not, but it's the same region where you can see what's become what's changed in our evolution as opposed to theirs. So the similarities is not to say that there's no connection, even at an evolutionary level. And in the same way, I would say the same thing about the Bible's stories, creation myths, and those of Enuma Elish or those of Eridu Genesis. It's not that it's unconnected. There's evolutionary differences because the story evolved differently, but it evolved from the same common starting point.
Well, that's the claim.
Even your picture about the human and the dog, right? To me, it backs up the point.
The claim. But I don't necessarily agree with the claim of human evolution. I mean, that's a whole nother issue. We can get into that. But basically, the point would be is that you can't overemphasize superficial similarities and ignore essential differences. Because even with the eyes, for example, biologically, their eyes are different from ours. They both can see, but their eyes, I would argue, are designed for dogs because they can see better in a sense than we can. And their nose, they can smell a lot better than we can because they're, designed that their noses, they can smell from far off. We can't do that. Their ears, especially cats, and a lot of animals. I mean, I remember reading something about eagle's eyes. I'm like, what the heck? And when they explained how an eagle can see, like,
but have you ever looked into evolutionary pressures? The things that pressure. Have you ever looked into the pressures that force different organisms to evolve different ways? Whether or not you agreed with it or not, there's explanation as to why it was more beneficial for this organism to evolve this way and this organism to evolve this way. And so they branch off, and before you know it, after a couple of generations, they can't mate anymore. They can't, procreate anymore, and they branch off into their different lineages. In the same way, if you look at the stories that the Bible tells, and you look at the stories of the nations that conquered Israel, or the stories that were from the nations that are around Israel, you can see the evolutionary history, and you can see the pressures that weighed on Israel that would make them tell their stories a little different. I'm going to tell the same story that y'all told, but I have different pressures on me that are going to force me to tell the story differently. Same thing happened with the Babylonians and the Mesopotamians and the Sumerians. They take each other's stories, but because of the pressures that are on them, I need to tell the story a different way. But it started from the same point. So to me, all of that none of that makes me say, so the Bible must be original and unique. It just says, you evolved differently because of different pressures. You needed your God to do different things, and so you told your story a little different.
Right. But again, I would say that's just an interpretation of the evidence, not what the evidence actually says. Because I know that position because I've read, most of your book. I think I've read like 85, 90% of it. Excuse me. But yeah, I understand where you're coming from. But there are lots of problems. Okay, a lot of problems. But let me move on from that. Okay, I just want to present that. Let me see where we at. Ooh, it's an hour 14 already. Good Lord. It's amazing how time flies, man. All right. So, but you are open to coming back or open to having me on your channel?
For sure.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I think it'll be beneficial for both of us to continue the dialogue and the conversation. All right. There was one other thing. All right. Let me get to this here because there's a couple of things. Like I said, I try to be too thorough, and I was thinking today. I mean, about so many things. Like I said to myself, wait a minute, we don't have to address every little thing today.
Oh no, not at
I had
all.
to say I had to say that to myself because again, I try to be too thorough sometimes, and say, man, I got to touch this point and this point and this one, and I just had to calm myself down. And say, okay, we don't have to
Hey,
touch
Lord
everything.
willing, we'll have time.
We can just take our time and deal with little things from here and there. Okay, as we have time. All right. Okay, let me see here. All right, so like I said, it's not all bad. I agree with what you said about truth matters. Yes, it definitely does matter.
And would you agree? Like even me taking that part out of the book about Dionysus and it's because truth mattered that I took it out. It's not like I'm trying to I'm going to say a bunch of stuff and just throw it at the wall and see what sticks. When I realized that I was wrong, because truth matters to me, I took that out.
No, I applaud you for that because I remember saying to myself, if he's willing to admit that this was wrong, would he do a second edition and correct that? And I didn't even know you were doing the second edition, but you apparently did do that, and I applaud you for that. That's great. Because again, I mean, if we're going to be truthful and honest, that's something you would do or you should do. Okay, and so let me get to another issue. Okay. Now this, I'm going to put this up here. Just give me a little second here because I actually didn't plan to put it on the screen. So
we're probably not going to have time, but I really would love to walk through Genesis chapter 3 with you. I saw Kip Davis's back and forth with you on that. I would have loved to do that, but maybe next time.
Now are you talking about something we were doing in text? Because I never had him on my channel.
He responded to your video.
Oh, he did a video.
You talked about him and Dr. Josh's take on Genesis 3, and then he responded to your video. And I said, I would love to chop it up with you about that.
Okay, yeah, I did see some of that. So I probably should watch the whole thing, but I guess what happened was, as I saw that he was trying to almost double down on what his view and not admit that maybe he was wrong, I kind of was like turned off.
I don't think he's wrong though. That's why hopefully next time we'll get a chance to dive into it.
I get that, but I'm just saying,
yeah.
But like I said, I do value honesty, and just like even with you changing that particular part of the book says a lot about you, because there's some people that I'm right, and screw everybody, that to me that's not the way. If you're wrong, just be able to admit it. I mean, I've done videos where I caught myself making not major mistakes, just something I said that was wrong. I come back and say, oh, you know what? I said this, that's wrong. I mean, I've done that a couple of times, but most of the time I caught my own errors and corrected them. But there was another time I did a video where I was dealing with, I'm sure you're aware of Dr. Michael Heiser, right? So you wrote about him. And I have some problems with his theology, especially the divine counsel stuff. So me and another brother who he wrote a book about Heiser. I mean, and because I was looking at Heiser stuff personally, and I said, well, that seems to be problematic. And I didn't know of anyone else that had issues because everybody loves Heiser. And I'm like, wait a minute, but he said this, and I'm finding all these problems with Heiser. And then I find this guy wrote a book about Heiser. Oh, let me get this book. And then I got him on. And so, but we were talking about the Septuagint, and he made some false claims because someone in the comments said, well, he basically pointed it out. And so I looked into it and I said, wait a minute, this guy's right. And we both got on and admitted his error. And I said, we can't do that. So you made that mistake. And he agreed with me. He said, we're going to, we publicly put it out there. We made the mistake. We publicly made the correction. So all that just to say that it's like you said, honesty matters, truth matters. And so I've corrected my own stuff, and we corrected that stuff about that we were talking about with the Septuagint. But anyway, let me get to another issue that I have a problem with. And I don't know, maybe you dealt with it. This one, I was actually surprised at. Oops. Okay.
I'm so curious as to what it's going to be. We've been teasing this for a minute.
Yeah, I apologize. Yeah, it's okay. Now this is something that and like I said, maybe you can explain it,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe I just couldn't read right. Okay, this right here, because you were talking about. Let me see, what page was this here?
I need a drum roll. I'm on the edge of my seat. Like, what are you talking about?
Hold on now. Let me find the page. But yeah, you were talking about. Let's see, because I just want to make sure I got the page right, and then we can. Yeah, I think this is it. Okay. Yeah, page 182 and going over to 185. But you were talking about the Hebrew word bara. It means to
Oh,
create.
yes.
Yeah, that
Yes.
this thing here. So this seemed to be false to me. The Hebrew word bara has the meaning to separate. My question is, where did you get that? Because I've checked several lexical sources. I can't find that.
So
Like I said, maybe I was misreading because
all
I'm
right. So
human.
for those who don't know, the Hebrew word bara is used in Genesis 1, verse 1. In the beginning, God bara the heavens and the earth. And it's typically translated as created. Now,
Right.
let me just ask you, because you said you like to check footnotes.
Yeah.
In the chapter where I talk about bara, I named several very well-known Christian and maybe one liberal, but mostly Christian Old Testament scholars. Did you check
Okay.
the footnotes every time I mentioned all the different scholars who would back that up? Did you check any of that?
I believe I did, but the main thing that bothered me, okay, in 182, because see, and the thing is, okay, here we go. Page doesn't want to come up. All right, so yeah, you put a footnote 18. Once when you talked about that word, okay, yeah, those. Okay, I'll just read it from page 182. Those meanings range from create to make, form, cut, clear, and you have separate, divide, or
Mhm.
fashion by cutting. And then you have a footnote right next to that statement. 18, Francis Brown, S.R. Driver, Charles Briggs, a Hebrew and English lexicon of the Old Testament, Clarendon, 1951. I couldn't find that book at first for a while, so I
Mhm.
checked all my other sources, and not one of them had mentioned the word separate. Then I found the actual volume that you mentioned.
Mhm.
Okay. And for the life of me, I looked the word up and I could not find that word. So now the question is, at that point, did you make a mistake? Did you misspeak? Or were you just referring to some of the authors who may have said it meant separate? Because
So,
the last count is 8 lexical sources, and I can't find that word meaning to separate.
all right. So you're familiar with SR Driver, right?
Yeah, I have this one. This is the exact one you referenced.
Right. I don't have that anymore. I don't even know. I think I may have found that at Westminster Theological Seminary's library. I'm not sure.
Okay.
But this is SR Driver's commentary on Genesis.
Okay.
So for those who don't know, Brown Drivers Briggs, they made the Hebrew lexicon that most scholars use for the better part of the 20th century.
Right.
But SR Driver, one of Brown Driver Briggs, the driver, part of that 3-man crew, he has his own commentary on Genesis. In his commentary on Genesis, he talks about the word bara, meaning
Okay.
to create, but it actually is to create by cutting or separating or dividing. I also talk about Bill T. Arnold. I'm pretty sure you're familiar with Bill T. Arnold, or are you not?
I'm sorry. Say that again.
Bill T. Arnold, are you familiar with him?
No, I can't say that I am.
I have his book here somewhere. Bill T. Arnold, he is the one who wrote the book that most Bible college Old Testament students are going to read a book from Bill T. Arnold. So if you see this book here, I don't know where the Old Testament one is, but this is a book called Encountering the New Testament. It's a Bible college book but there's also Encountering
Okay.
the Old Testament. Encountering the Old Testament is Bill T. Arnold. So S.R. Driver talks about the word create. The word bara literally being to create, or to create by separating, or create by cutting. Bill T. Arnold used to teach that Genesis 1:1 was in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. That was back in the 90s. In the 2000s, Bill T. Arnold revised his view. In light of these kind of findings, Bill T. Arnold now teaches that bara actually does mean to separate, or to create by separating. And then I give you Ellen Van Wald. I don't know if you looked up any of her work. Ellen Van Wald has taken this and run even further with it to show all the different cognates of the word bara in all of the languages around the ancient Near East, how the word bara always has with it the idea of clearing out a space, or separating, or dividing, making room for something to happen by pushing two other things apart, or clearing something out. And so I don't know what edition of the Brown Jarvis Briggs lexicon that you just pulled up. I don't remember what edition if I gave the year that it was published.
Yeah, you gave the year. Yeah, that's how I knew.
And that's the one that you have, that year?
Yes. I wanted to make sure, because I know, with definitions, people can write different things over time. So when I did my research, I said, I need to get the exact one that he referenced, so I can see what he's talking about. And I'll be honest, I was actually surprised. I was like, wait a minute. He said the word means to separate, and none of these lexicons say separate.
What do they? Can you
ahead.
read what it does say?
Okay. Well, it has, let's see. All right, let me give you some.
Because if it doesn't, and I don't know if you're saying that I'm saying that Brown Jarvis Briggs says it means separate, because of what I may have said is Brown Jarvis Briggs says it means to create by cutting, and then I go on to talk about separating. So that may be what I said.
No, I mean, what you said was you said a couple of things. Words have different meaning according to context, but what you actually said was, okay, those meanings range from, we're talking about the Hebrew word bara on page 182. Those meanings range from create to make, form, cut, clear. Then you have separate, divide, or fashion by cutting. Okay, because the whole issue is, it's not, and God created, it's he separated. I'm like, huh? Wait, that doesn't make sense. Then, okay, in the actual lexicon that you referenced, it says, shape, create, form, fashion by cutting, shape out.
Okay, so yeah, that's no. So here, if I can, here's what's happening. The fashion by cutting something, you're taking it apart. You're separating it. Now, in the lexicon, I got now you're making me want to go back and check whether or not it actually said the word separate. I'm almost certain it did. That might be something else that I need to amend if it doesn't actually say separate. But I'm almost certain it did say separate.
Well, yeah, the point is, I'm just trying to follow up on what you said, because almost everything that you said in your book is there except the word separate, and even I don't think divide is here. Some of this is a very tedious, small lettering. Okay, fashion, create, always divine activity, blah blah blah. You know
what?
What?
Sorry. Not this one. Where's it at? So I think what happened was, it's not this book right here. I think I got that list of what that lexicon actually says. I think I got that from Dennis Lemeroux's book, in his works cited, in his citation at the end of his book. I think he lays that out, and I copied.
Yeah, who was that guy again?
Dennis Lemeroux. He wrote the book Evolutionary Creation, which I quote in the book as well. And so I think I got that from him in his citations. But then I went and I got S.R. Driver's actual commentary on Genesis so that I could make sure that it wasn't just Dennis LeMaru saying that. So I think if I'm not mistaken, I think I got that lexical notation from his works cited.
Okay.
That might be what's going on there.
Okay. All right. I mean, hey, again, if that's the case, I can look honest errors. I mean, I'm guessing that's an honest error.
Well, I don't know if it's an error because, like I said, if that's what's in his works cited in his bibliography, I don't know if it's an error to copy his bibliography. It's just if that's what happened, I didn't put eyes on it myself. I took it from what I was thinking was scholarship and just, that's who he's citing to get this, and he had it laid out in his bibliography, and I took it and put it in mine, and then I went and checked SR Driver to make sure that it wasn't just a fluke.
Okay, right. But what I'm saying in terms of error is that the lexical sources don't say that.
Right.
And the one you referenced doesn't say that. And again, I'm going to caveat with saying I could be, maybe because it's some small writing, maybe I missed the word separate. I'll leave that open.
Yeah, I'll go check it out.
Okay, because I'm human, but I believe I checked it thoroughly enough to say, wait a minute, that's what he put.
Yeah.
Okay, go back over there. Go back in the living room.
So yeah, I mean that might be what I know. Several times when I was looking for citations, when I couldn't find the citation myself, I found other people who cited it and just copied what was in their bibliography. So that might be what happened there. I don't know that that's what happened, but that might be. But like I said, SR Driver nonetheless does say, because I quote him verbatim talking about the way bara is used to convey the idea of separating or fashioning by cutting. And he actually uses those words.
Right.
And then, like I said, it's not just her, but others, Ellen Van Wald as well. She's done more work. Matter of fact, I think I'll lean more on her than SR Driver to talk about bara, because she's got a whole, I think you saw it in the book, she's got all the cognate words,
right,
where the root of bara is using far and wide around that area. And it always carries the idea of fashioning by clearing out or separating or cutting.
Okay. No, I mean, I tried to look for her stuff, and I think it's in another language, if I'm not mistaken. I was like,
she's Dutch.
Dutch. It's in her language. And I was looking for a translation. I may have found one.
I can send you her PDF. The PDFs, they're all in English. I can send you the PDF.
No,
it's great stuff.
All right. Yeah. Send it to me. I want to look at it. But one of the things I do kind of, let me see, how do I put this? I know you found this and you put it out there. The problem I'm having is that it looks like this person's a lone wolf out there, because it's like almost everybody else. And I'm not saying truth is determined by numbers. Don't get that wrong. But this person seems like a lone wolf.
Who's that?
No one else that I'm aware of is saying what she's saying. I'm not saying she's absolutely wrong. I'm just saying, how do I know she's just not going off on a tangent?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's a great question. But here's the thing.
Go ahead.
She also cites SR Driver. And like I said, his book is right here. I can read you the sections from his book where he's talking about it. And then Bill T. Arnold. Bill T. Arnold is a world-renowned Old Testament scholar. He writes the textbooks. He changed his view and now sees created in Genesis 1:1 as separated. And one of the reasons why I wrote this book is because I thought, damn, if all these people are saying it, there must be a changing of the guards that's about to happen. Let me get out in front of it and help people get out in front of it. That's why I wrote the book. And then here we are, 3 or 4 years later, and people are still thinking Genesis 1:1 says create. So I'm like, I guess I was, ringing the alarm bell for nothing. But she's not the only person saying this.
No, I understand she might not be the only one, but it's like I don't think there's a Hebrew scholar consensus on that. Not that consensus in and of itself is proof of truth, but you have to take into account that, if we got 100 Hebrew scholars over here and you got 10 over here, if 100 are saying it means create, you have to ask the question, well, why are these 10 over here saying it doesn't? And then the thing that also bothers me, Okay, we've been an hour and a half now, and I think we maybe need to do a part 2 if you're willing at
all
some
good.
point.
All good.
Okay.
And I'll have some of these sources nailed down a little bit more because I wrote this book in 2021 or 2022.
Okay.
So I'm like, I'm grabbing at straws trying to remember where I got stuff from, but I'll have the sources more nailed down by the time we get back.
Okay, no, that's good. That's good. I want that, and it looks like I may want to get you part 2 of the book. But it'd be nice if you would do me a solid and send me a free copy.
I'll send you the audio and I'll send you the digital version.
And I can send you a copy of my book free of charge, postage paid. You know, just so you can get an idea. But where was I going with this? Oh yeah. My daughter distracted me. She came a few minutes ago at the door. Okay. I got to go in a minute. But I appreciate you once again coming on. And I'm glad we can have this conversation and talk this stuff out. Mm-hmm. I know where I was going. And again, you can just give me your comments and we'll kind of close out because I may ask have some people asking questions. I know Brother Tim's been patient, so I'll bring him up.
I saw a super chat up above too, so I don't know if you want to go back up and find that one.
Super chat,
one of my viewers. Yeah.
One of yours?
Yeah.
They're trying to give me super chats. What are they giving you?
Well, I think if they're watching on my channel, I think it might come to me. I'm not sure.
Okay, it's all good. I'm not worried about the super chats, but okay. But this is what bugged me again about this this whole claim about the separate thing. Mm-hmm. If I'm not mistaken, there are at least 2 Hebrew words that can mean separate. And why would the author write bara when you have at least 2 other words that can mean separate? Why didn't the author just put in the beginning? I'm drawing a blank. I need some water. In the beginning, God separated and used those Hebrew words that mean separate. That's my question to you. What do you think is the problem there, or is there no problem?
I don't think there's a problem. As a matter of fact, in the book, and I hope you go back and read that chapter because I'm not a slouch. Like I may have gotten sloppy in this area, but I'm not a slouch. Like you don't come out of Westminster without the ability to do research and be able to track down sources and defend your points and all that. What I do in that chapter where I talk about bara, I think there's something, even for the Christian, for the person that's not even trying to deconvert or deconstruct, I think there's some really good theological thought there. I think if you look at what's happening in Genesis chapter 1, verse 1, and the different ways that verse, there's at least 4 different ways that verse can be translated. I think taking bara as separate makes so much more sense than create, because what you talked about John Oswald, my Old Testament professor, well, he wasn't my professor, but he was one of the Old Testament professors at the college I went to, John Soden. He wrote a book called In the Beginning We Misunderstood. And I'm quoting him in the book as well. One of the things that they like to say is the view of Genesis is so unique in the ancient Near East. They're the only ones who are monotheistic. They're the only ones that have a God creating ex nihilo. All the rest of them, you have gods at the beginning, and you have creation being coexisting with God at the beginning. Genesis is unique. This shows you how the God of the Hebrews was so special because he doesn't tell a story like they. I'm like, but wait, if you see what some of these like S.R. Driver and Ellen Van Wold and Bill T. Arnold, what they're saying about the word bara and how it puts Genesis actually right in line with what's going on in the ancient Near East. Bara shows you that no, this is not a ex nihilo creation. Bara shows you that in Genesis 1:1, creation is already there. It's just not separated for purpose. And so Genesis 1:1 is God not creating out of nothing. It's God taking what's already there and beginning to separate it for a purpose and form and fashion it. And in that chapter, I explain, I talk about it's not just them. John Walton, I pull on him as well. All of these folks are saying very similar things about how we should look at Genesis 1:1. And it's not God created it out of nothing. It's no, God took what was already there. We don't have a story that starts with God and nothing. Genesis 1:1 is a story that starts with God and creation existing, just not separated and not given a function yet. And God starts cutting to form things and giving them names and functions or destinies. And all of the ancient Near East stories about creation, it's the same thing. God is separating things, naming things, and giving it a destiny. And Genesis chapter 1 is no different. And I spend time in that chapter laying that out.
Yeah, no, I did read that, but that still doesn't answer the question of why put a word there that is claimed to mean separate when there are at least two other Hebrew words that actually mean separate.
Well,
That
here's how I would answer the question. In
Okay.
that chapter, I explain, I pull on Hebrew scholars like Zion Zevet, or should I say, Israel is, what is he? I guess he's an Old Testament scholar, Zion Zevet, where he talks about we would have seen bara as separated if it weren't for the development of Greek philosophy. It was Greek philosophy that came along, and when they translated the Hebrew Bible into the Septuagint, they did not have an accurate word to translate bara. And so they ended up translating it into something that seemed more like Aristotle's uncaused cause or first mover. And so because their theology was, or their philosophy was, should I say the metaphysics, was a unmoved mover, a first cause, it made more sense for them to translate bara as create. And we receive that tradition. And so for us, we think, oh, why didn't they just use a word that meant separate? And the people that I'm trying to present to you are saying, no, bara would have came to us as separate if it wasn't for that historical development of the Greek Septuagint translating bara in a way that Greeks could understand it. And they didn't use separate because for the Greek mind, create was a much more fitting idea for the way that they saw the world. So we receive their tradition. We're products of that. That's why we don't look at bara as, well, why would you use that? If you want to say separate, just say separate. Well, the Hebrews did. The Greeks are the ones that forced it to look more like create because that fit the way that they saw the world, their worldview.
Okay. Yeah, I saw that. And to me, it seems that that's someone's ideology, not that
what are you going to do?
That we can trace etymologically that
Helen Van Wall did that, though. She traced it.
Okay, I'll take your word for it at this point. But what I'm saying is that sounds to me, as I've looked at it, it doesn't really answer the question. It seems like a sidestep. Oh, well, the Septuagint people did this. I'm like, okay, but that doesn't change the fact that in Hebrew, there's a way to say separate. In fact, two different words, if I'm not mistaken. And you could have used those.
Are you talking about Havdil? Havdil meaning divided? Is that one of the ones? Havdil is
I
one of the words.
that's one of them. Yeah. It's used in Genesis as well. When he separated
Genesis
the waters. Yeah. When he separated the waters from the waters, things like that. So, yeah. You did mention that Hebrew word, but I don't recall.
But to say, why didn't they use a word that would have meant separate when what I'm saying is they did? We just don't know that history because we're on a different trajectory after what happened with the Septuagint. So you're asking why they didn't do something that I'm saying they actually did do.
Right. But what you're doing is saying that the word, you're basically saying that the word bara means to separate, but you're not.
Well, even in the Brown Jarber Briggs comment or lexicon that you just picked up, you still have to create by cutting or to fashion by cutting. That's the same ideal. If you're fashioning something by cutting, it has to exist already, right?
No, that is true, but in the context of the where that meaning applies, it's talking about people cutting wood in a forest, though, because you have to remember we do have different meanings based on context, right? Create, fashion, and all of that, but you can't go around willy-nilly say, "Oh yeah, fashion by cutting." He's cutting some stuff in the forest, and then all of a sudden you're talking about the beginning of creation. Those are two different contexts. You can't just willy-nilly mix that up and just apply a definition any kind of way you want.
But if at the beginning of creation you have two things being separated, even if you get outside of Genesis chapter 1 verse 1, you go into Genesis chapter 1 verse 3, 4, you still see him separating the heavens and the earth. So even if you don't like creating in verse 1, when he starts using or implying the word Havdil, you still see a separation going on of heaven and earth. So I don't understand why it's a problem. If like, what's the fixation other than the way it came to us is in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. but nonetheless, you still see a separation of that heaven and earth, even after verse 1. So,
well, you have
say,
good, yeah, you have a
I'm saying
separation.
go
Yeah,
ahead, you
I'm
got
sorry.
it.
Go ahead. Okay, all right. Well, what I'm saying is even to the point of, okay, later on, there's a separating. But when that happens, you're using the Hebrew word that means to separate. Whereas in the beginning, you're talking bara, meaning to create. So what I'm saying is, according to these people, and I want to look into it a little more deeply, but it doesn't make sense to claim that that word means to separate and that you're translating it totally differently when, as you're going on in the story, Genesis 1 and 2, he's separating the waters from the waters, and and bara is not used. This is the Hebrew word for separate. So I
Well,
still have,
no,
I have a problem with that. Go ahead.
it's the Hebrew word for divided, which is a little different than separate. Like, there's different ways you can convey the idea. But all I'm saying is, if we haven't even talked about this, which is, a whole other conversation. Do you take Genesis 1:1 as a completed action, or do you take it as a temporal clause? Because depending on how you take it, if you take it as a temporal clause, you understand why separate makes more sense. If you take it as a completed action, it still makes sense to take it as separate, but I think a lot of times it's hard for us to get outside of the way the story came to us. And it came to us as created, and that's the way we like it. And it came to us as a completed action as opposed to a temporal clause. So depending on which version of the Bible you read, you don't even see the temporal clause option. And so either way, I hear you. I'm just saying, I think there's good reason to look at it as bara, as separate, especially when you put it in the ancient Near East context and see that's how all of their stories begin. There's a separating of the heavens and the earth. At one point, they're together, and they begin by being separated.
Okay. All right. I hear you on that. But I would say there is a danger of trying to make the Bible fit to the extreme into the ancient Near East, so that everything that the ancient Near East said, the Bible writers had to also echo and say. I think that is actually a fallacy, because you can't. I mean, I like to use this illustration. Like today, in today's society, we have, all kinds of people around us. There are people that actually believe that they can change their gender. I mean, there are people, I've seen it on YouTube, so it's not fake or anything. There are people who claim not to be human. I mean, you and I, we're right on the screen. We both believe we're human. I've seen a kid talking about, I'm not human. There's a guy who actually spent thousands of dollars to make himself look like a cat. Now, you and I look at that and it's like, that's insane.
Well, hold on, because I was going to let you go, but because you put people who can change their gender in that situation, I would not put them in the same category of people who think I can be a cat, because I don't think people are necessarily changing their gender. I think people are trying to make what's external match what's internal, and to me, that's not a change. So I reject the idea that that's insane to put them all in the same category. But go ahead.
Okay, well, okay. I'm just trying to make a point. Basically,
I got you.
that. All right, so that, okay, there are people claiming not to be human when they are. There are people claiming to be cats and spending thousands of dollars. This is one specific guy I'm speaking of. You can see him on YouTube. Claimed to be a cat, and he made whiskers and he spent thousands of dollars transforming himself, but he was still actually human. My point is that, yeah, I think I lost my point.
See, I got your point.
You can't be interrupting me, man.
I'm sorry. But once you said that's insane and you had those three things in the list, I had to jump in. But I got your point. Your point is, like you said, you can't just take Genesis and say, oh, everybody in the East, ancient East was doing this.
Yeah.
So Genesis must have been doing the same.
Okay, yeah, I got my point. Thanks for bringing it back to me. Okay, so basically, within the culture, we have people saying all this stuff, right, about gender and changing and all this. If we're going to say, well, the Christians or the God believers are just going to follow the culture, no, that's wrong. We're actually saying the opposite of the culture. At least the people that are talking about gender dysphoria and how, we got people transitioning from one male to female, female to male, all that. The culture is doing that. It would be a fallacy to assume that God believers or Christians would follow along with that. Actually, we're saying the opposite, except for, you got some people that claim to be Christians and they'll go with anything the culture says or whatever. But I'm not talking about those folk. The point is that it's a fallacy to try to say that ancient Near Eastern people all thought alike. And if this ancient culture said that there's a separation, that the Hebrews had to do that, that's fallacious. Logically, that's fallacious. What you have to do is prove.
Is it possible?
It may be possible, but you can't assume it. You have to actually dig into the evidence and say, okay, we can see definitely they did this. That's
what
view.
I think I've done.
Okay. So, all right. Just like the person who thinks he's a cat, but he's not. You think you did it.
Hey, you got to go get your wife, man. I don't want you getting
no. I got some time. I got some time to get her, but let me bring on Brother Tim. If you have some questions, in fact, I'm going to try.
I did see 2 super chats real quick. I don't know if you want to do those now or do those after Tim.
All right, let me quickly bring you Brother Tim. Can you hear me, Brother Tim? I can't hear you.
Oh, sorry, my mic was tucked back.
Okay. All right. So, I'm opening things up for questions for either one of us, especially for the fanatic. Oh yeah, I meant to ask you the spelling of fanatic. What does that mean? Because it's not a normal word.
Well, I mean, that's just hip hop. Hip hop is just, we're going to break all the rules. So I could have spelled it normally, but hip hop is, you got to break a rule. So I spelled it differently.
Okay. So there's not a special meaning to that spelling. Okay. Nope. Yeah. I meant to ask you. Sorry about that. I meant to ask you that. Okay. So Brother Tim, if you got some questions for Mr.
You want to take you want to take the falsehood thing off the screen real quick?
Okay. Yeah. Let me get that. Yeah, let me get that.
Put some super chats up there. Do you see the super chats on your side?
Let me see. Do I see the super chat?
I don't think I can put them on this. Well, maybe I can put them on the screen because I think they came through on my side. Let me see. Nope, I don't have the option to put them on the screen.
I don't see any. All right, go ahead, Brother Tim. Oh, wait a minute. I see a super chat.
Yeah, I see him.
Is it hold on, Tim. Is it when there's some money shown?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I'm gonna do you a solid. I'm gonna throw up a super chat. There's one of them. I see. Okay, there's a super chat.
Oh, that's from I Shall Win. Thank you for the $10 super chat. I'm always impressed by your explanation. Be good. Thanks for putting this on. My pleasure, bro.
Okay. All right. And let me see if I can see another one. Yeah, because I gotta scroll through and they don't show up like. Oh, here's another. Wait,
you gotta.
Okay. Okay. Here's.
Let's do Tim real quick. You can just take that off. Let's do Tim, and then we'll go back to the super chats.
All right.
Because Tim been holding tight this whole time.
Oh, that's cool, bro. I'm patient.
Let me see. Come on. Okay, there we are. All right, Brother Tim, you got some questions for Mr. Brady? Go ahead.
Yeah. First, before I ask these questions or this one question and I head out, I wanted to say it's an honor and a blessing to get to talk to you, bro. You're a legend, regardless. Even though you're an atheist now, you're
I appreciate you, man.
You're one of the coolest infidels I've ever met. I'm just playing.
Cool infidel.
Also,
that's heresy on my channel. What are you talking about?
No. Also too on I have a podcast on Facebook, typically primarily Facebook. So I sent you a request and I'd love to connect with you and not to debate, but just to have, just to hear your journey and your story and everything and interview you one day. And so I was very interested because I wanted to possibly ask you a question and then clip this for something I could share with my audience. About the social justice matter. I was reading up on you and you had stated how you had a huge disagreement and disappointment in how the church has handled social justice. And it was one of the many factors that you had. Did I read it wrong or?
No, I've heard several people say that. I've never really had an issue with the church. And I mean, I do now, but when I was a believer, while I was deconverting, I never really had an issue with that. I mean, I did. When Black Lives Matter started to become a thing, I was one of the Black Christians who was challenging the church to address it and not just hand wave it away. But it was never a factor for me, like in my deconversion or in my, see, that's what's wrong with the church. Like I've never been a church hurt person. It's only looking back that I'm looking at the church saying, oh, damn, like it makes sense why you all, after this much time, still can't come together as one, because there's nothing supernatural happening. But when I was a believer and when I was deconverting, that was never an issue for me.
Okay.
Now, I did interview JR, and that was a big thing for JR. When he deconverted, it was a big thing for him.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I guess ultimately that was just the question and in the interest that I found, because I was seeing that all over the internet, that's one of the reasons. So as of right now, when you look at the church, what is your primary issue that you see that the problem with when it comes down to social justice?
Man, look, and C Road Warrior, I was supposed to ask you this at the beginning. What should I call you? How should I address you?
No, Christian Road Warrior. My
so many too many words, man. I need a shortened version of that.
CRW, CRW.
Well, you can do CRW. You know.
Right. But so one of the things that has,
just don't call me Johnson. We're gonna have a problem.
One of the things that has in the last maybe 7 or 8 months, what are we in December? The last 12 months, I guess. The rise of Christian nationalism and what the church's response is to that. So I did an episode on my channel about a month and a half ago, talking about House Speaker Mike Johnson, the fact that he sat up under this. So there's another former Christian, Frank Schaeffer Jr., son of the legendary apologist Francis Schaeffer. But Frank Schaeffer Jr., he talked about his time in the evangelical camp and people like Rushdoony, who's a theonomist. These are people who want the Old Testament laws to be the laws of America. And that this person is somebody who actually told him back in, I think it was like the 80s or 80s, he told Frank Schaeffer this, that it was a mistake for America to end slavery and that we should reinstitute slavery in America. And then you hear white Christian nationalist pastors like Joel Webbin and Brian Sauvé saying things about Black people in America that make you feel like, are y'all trying to take it back to that? And so, and then you see Mike Johnson, Speaker Mike Johnson, was a disciple of people like Rushdoony. So it's like, wait, it's one thing for your religion to just be something I object to on philosophical grounds or maybe psychological grounds. I see the harm of preaching things like hell and, your righteousness is filthy. I see the harm and all that. It's another thing if I start getting the impression that the religion is being used to push us back to those antebellum ideas of white supremacy and Blacks are only good for being enslaved or imprisoned, as Nick Fuentes says, I think. And I see Christianity being used to do that. And the White House talking about we need one religion in this country and everybody needs to be the same religion because they're so freaked out by Islam that they feel like you need a counter religion to counter this religious ideology. Those are the things that I'm looking at the church, and particularly Christians of color and white Christians who claim to be allies to people of color. I want to know what the church is going to do about that, because hearing that kind of stuff goes on makes me want to take a blowtorch to Christianity. When before I just was on some, I'm going to speak my piece. And if you don't agree, that's fine. We can disagree. We can do these podcasts. You're trying to make me a slave. Like I got all kinds of words that Christian Road Warrior asked me not to say on his channel. So I won't say them, but trust me, they're bubbling up inside of me right now.
I got all kinds of words too, but I'm a Christian, so I'm not going to say them. But they're like, dude, yeah. I think sometimes people, well, it's a whole nother topic that we could probably talk about because some of the people claiming to be Christians, what is it? I think I haven't even paid Nick Fuentes a whole lot of attention, but he's cussing and all this stuff. And I mean, what kind of Christianity is this? I mean, I know we have faults and all, but good Lord,
right.
It's like, but some of the stuff that comes out of people's mouths, and so I totally agree with you on that, Mr. Goodwin. The stupidity of things being said by people claiming to be Christians. Go ahead, Brother Tim.
No, I was just gonna say thank you, Brady, for not being.
Yeah, weird, and I'll look for your request on Facebook, man. Hopefully we can connect.
All right, brother. All right. God bless you, man. And hey, thank you, Christian Road Warrior. I owe you one, man. You got to come on one day, bro. It's been way too long since you last came on, bro.
Oh yeah, no. You know, I've been on your channel several times. You know, life just gets busy.
I feel
You
you.
know,
I feel you.
you
All
know what
right.
I'm saying. But
Well,
all right, all
all right.
right.
You guys have a great
That's
day.
you
I see
out.
you, bro.
All right. Bye.
All right.
So I think I saw 2 or 3 more whatchamacallit, super chats real quick. If you got time, if you don't have time in the search, I see them. I can just read them off real quick if you want.
All right, just real quick. All right, let's see. Let me see. Just give me. Oh, okay. Wait a minute. How did that? Oh, that's cool. I just found a new feature. Um, where I can see all this. I guess it's all the super chats.
Okay.
Let's see. Hold on. Okay.
Oh, where it says
Okay.
starred, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Okay.
just
There's
found that. I just
one.
saw that.
There's
That's from
one.
Mythos Boy, aka Michael Apple. Thank you for the $7.70. Now he used to super chat $6.66, but I think this is out of respect for knowing that I'm on your channel. He super chatted $7.77. So thanks,
All the
Michael Apple.
sevens, huh? Okay.
Donating because Brady had a rap memory palace, and I'm kind of nerding out because of it. That's what's up.
Nerding out, huh? All right. Okay. I think I might have shown this one before. Yep.
Yep,
Shown
we read that
before.
one.
This one.
Misinterpretations. Thank you for the $4.99 super chat. Cognates of Bara in Ugaritic and Akkadian mean divide. That's Dr. Kip Davis. I wonder if the cognate is used for the separation of Tiamat. Great question. Great. And I didn't even know that Dr. Kip Davis was up on that. I had no idea, but I would love to talk with him about that.
Yeah. I'm not sure either. I have issues with Dr. Kip Davis though. I got issues with him.
That's my man. Yeah.
Ignoring context. I don't like that. But all right, the next one. Okay, all right. I'm sure you like this one.
This is from my sister, Ty Goodwin. Thank you for
Your
the
sister?
$4.99.
Biological?
Yeah. Yes, she's a rock star on TikTok, a deconstructing, deconverting atheist rock star on TikTok. It's funny, just this year alone, I found out that both of my sisters are atheists. So, but she says, Brady, you're a true scholar and teacher. Your work and writing will impact so many. Thank you, Ty. Much love.
Okay. All right. So we're going to bring this one to a close a little bit. But before I go, I just want to, because one of the things I noticed about your book, and I know you couldn't, you got 300 something pages, so you couldn't interact necessarily with everybody. But have you read this book by this brother here, Gleason Archer?
No, I haven't. There's so many, like you said, it was too many.
Okay. No, I understand.
But you think that'd be a good one to incorporate if I wanted to do a third edition?
I would think you would, because I'm gonna be honest. I did not know how many languages this guy knew. Gleason Archer, I put it like this in hyperbolic form. He makes Josh look like a high schooler. Okay, that's
and
what
in the video that Josh did responding to you, he said, "No, you're probably right about Gleason Archer. He's a beast when it comes to the languages, and so he's not even fighting that point."
Okay, yeah, but I
not
didn't
Josh.
even
Thought it was Kip that said that.
Kip.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I call him Kip the Slip. That's my nickname for him. Kip the Slip Davis, because he's always slipping when it goes to the Bible. All right, but seriously, yeah, I didn't even know. To be honest, I had this book for years, and I finally decided to read his educational background. I mean, he learned languages. I'm like, why are you learning Arabic, bro? The Bible wasn't written in Arabic, But I understand in linguistics you want to do comparative study, that kind of thing. But yeah, I was this guy.
I'll check it out. I'll check. I mean,
you got to check.
I'm sort of done with this whole thing now, but I will check it out.
I get it. I get that.
Yeah.
But I mean, because my issue was that you didn't interact with certain people. This guy here, you know of his work?
Who's that?
Stephen Meyer.
Yeah, I couldn't laugh at some people when they say, "Have you checked out so and so?" But this guy gets a pretty good chuckle from me.
Okay,
I've read a couple of his books and I don't find them useful. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's got some good stuff. How about this guy? Have you read anything about this guy, Dr. A.E. Wilder Smith?
No.
Natural scientists know nothing of evolution. The guy has I didn't even know it was possible. He has 3 doctorates in science. I didn't even know that was possible. And he's
So next time we get a chance to talk, I would love to hear more from you about this, because even like there was somebody that you said I should have checked out and I should have cited in my book when it comes to evolution. Then I go and check that person out, and to me, he's very easily debunkable. And even the people that he pulls on end up refuting him in a couple of years after the book that you saying I should have, Jeffrey Tompkins, you saying I should have read his book. But
Yeah,
I say all that to say,
Mhm.
yeah, I say all that to say, wait, what was I going to say? Why did I bring that up? You talked about, the I don't know. I don't even know what my point
I think it was DNA, and I mentioned Tompkins.
My point. Even if you could say, hey, but have you read this person? And I read it, and he's got a good. One of the things I challenge Christians to think, especially Christians who want to fight against evolution, are you aware of all of the advances in medical science that we are making because of the same science of evolution, because of the benefits of the Human Genome Project? Like, one of the issues I have is a lot of times Christians want to take the benefits of modern science and then poo-poo the very thing that's given us those benefits. Like the same science that's allowing us to develop mRNA vaccines and target the cancer in a certain way and target certain parts of the brain. And now we could put viruses inside the brain that are now going to cause the brain to rebuild itself. The same science that's allowing us to do that and go forward is the same science that allows us to go backwards and reverse engineer how we got to where we are. So it's almost like the scientists that sometimes people try to pull from, they're going against the grain of progression. So I'm not saying, hey, shut up, we're getting some good things out of this. Don't diss it. I'm saying the science is productive. It's allowing us to produce things. There's real progress from what some people want to say, it's just a theory, but there's progress. Like, how do you do that?
Okay, I understand what you're saying, but just a little background on me. I actually wanted to be a medical doctor or a biologist, so I don't have a problem with science. My problem is when science goes beyond the actual evidence, which I would argue evolution does. But that's another thing for another day.
Yeah.
Just I'm just going to throw some books at you. Have you read anything? Well, I know you know of Behe. Have you read Behe's book, Darwin's Black Box?
Yep.
Okay. Now, this one's relatively new. This is a guy who used to believe in evolution. He now doesn't. Have you read this one?
What's his name? No.
Okay.
No, never heard of him.
Okay. Yeah, this is actually relatively new. What year is this? And again, I know you may be at a point where you don't want to just go into this stuff, but
here's what would make me dive into those kind of books again. Right. What would make me dive into those kind of books is produce something that we cannot get any other way than what you're saying. And if you can't produce anything, then to me, you're the guy standing by, watching the parade go by, dissing it from the side because they didn't invite you to participate. Like Behe, Meyer, any of those folks in the Discovery Institute or Intelligent Design, produce something with what you're saying. Here's what science tells us about our genetics, about our history, produce something, and I'll give you an ear. But until then, I'm going to listen to the people who are producing things.
So when you say produce something, you mean like what?
Technology, medical advances, some kind of explanatory framework that allows us to make predictions that prove true. Give us something.
Okay, all right, that's a valid point. But the thing is, I think they have, because a lot of these guys are former evolutionists who've been in the field for years, and then they're explaining. Wait a minute, there are some problems. One more book. Have you read this one?
Oh, from
Anthony Flew.
I have it. I haven't read it. No.
Oh, okay. Yeah. He was very interesting to me because I remember back in the days when I was writing my book and going into all this stuff with atheists. He was one of the most rabid, I'm gonna eat you alive atheists. He was, he scratch your eyes out if you said you were a Christian. I'm just, hyperbole, but yeah, he was one of the I mean, he was notorious atheist.
Mm-hmm.
And he, from what I understand, he was like, this evidence for design is kind of convincing, pretty much. I'm just paraphrasing. And so he, I'm not sure if he's still alive, but he was like,
No, he's dead.
Huh?
He's
He's
dead.
passed away?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. But yeah, he was leaning away from his atheism. So that's basically it. You might want to give this a read when you get a chance.
Like I said, I have it. I'm going to check it out when I get a chance. If I could,
Okay.
maybe if I find the audiobook, I'll get to it quicker. But hey, man, let's do this again and we can dive back into more topics, man. I was looking forward to this because, like I said, I don't like having people that I feel like, oh, I blocked them. There's several people that I blocked, and I'm like, I would love to unblock them. I just don't invite anything into my world that's going to be stressful. I'm chasing peace. I'm protecting my peace. But I'm glad that we were able to have this combo because I like having these conversations. I wanted this kind of interaction with my book when I put it out. I just didn't know that I was going to get it from you because I didn't understand the way that you were coming. So I'm looking forward to more conversation, man.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I'm definitely looking forward to it myself. But again, I want to thank you for coming. And I did put the link out there for if anyone else wanted to come join the discussion. But I don't see anyone coming up. So I'm just going to let you go. And again, I appreciate your time. I appreciate you finally coming on and seeing that the Warrior is not going to. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, real quick, just for the people on my channel. I don't know if you enjoyed the conversation last week with Eric Hernandez or not, but he will be back on Ichabod this coming Thursday. We're going to do a part 2. So stay tuned for that. Okay.
All right. Good. All right. But again, I appreciate you coming on. It's been a long time coming. And again, I'm looking forward to doing, a part 2 and a couple of other ones. Like I said, we can get more into different things, different topics, because there's a lot to cover, and you can't really do it all really in one little sitting unless you're going to go for 7 hours, which is not reasonable. So yeah, I mean, we've gone 2 hours and 12 minutes, which I told my wife I'd be an hour and a half, but that went away. But yeah, I mean, I enjoy talking about this stuff and discussing this stuff, and it's nice that, like I said, going back to what I said originally, you were really trying not to hurt people when you first came out, and I saw that, and I was like, this is unusual, but it said something about you. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people.
I was going to unblock you on Facebook. So maybe I won't now because your opinion of me might change when you see the stuff I've been saying on Facebook. So I'll let you.
What about me? Or
no, your opinion of me might change about not being out to cause any harm.
Well, I mean, at least I'm talking about when you initially started coming out. It seemed like you were very, trying to not, hurt the people that were following you from the past. And that was very unique to me because most people who come out and do what you're doing are just totally anti, and they don't care who they hurt. They don't care who falls. They don't care. None of that. And when I saw that, I was like, this is different from this guy. And what, did you change from that, or you still around that area?
No, see, same heart. But what happened is I started making these think pieces on Facebook, asking Christians to think about what they believe and why. And some of the comments that I got from Christians, I'm getting DMs and text messages from Christians, people that I did ministry with at 2:00 in the morning, telling me I'm going to hell and, stuff like that.
Okay.
At some point, I just was like, okay, if that's what this is, then I'm taking the gloves off. And so, not that I'm trying to hurt anyone, but I'm gonna be honest with you. Part of the things that I say on Facebook, one of the reasons why I'm now so like antagonistic, I liken what I'm doing to what Elijah did to the prophets of Baal on Mount Carmel. Like he starts antagonizing them, like, hey, maybe your God's asleep. Maybe he's going on a journey. Cry louder. Because if your God is a real God, he should be able to show up and do something. And so I'm not trying to be mean, but there really is a part of me that wants Christians to realize your God doesn't do anything. And so I'm not trying to be mean. I think if the way I used to cheer on Elijah, teasing the prophet's God, to me, it's like if it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander.
Okay. All right. I hear you on that. But yeah, I just wanted to make that point because that struck me as different and strange. I don't think I've seen anyone else like become agnostic atheist that seemed to try to care to not cause problems for those who saw him as a Christian in the past. So that's something I saw.
Yeah.
And I've never seen it before that I can recall.
Yeah.
Okay. And so,
appreciate that.
Yeah, because I saw you were trying to be as careful, and I was like, "What is he doing?" Part of me was like, "What are you doing?" You know, it's like you're falling over yourself, trying not to stumble people, something like that.
Yeah.
And so,
And people don't realize there's still ways I'm doing that to this very day.
Okay.
But
okay. All right. I think that says a lot about you, though. Like I said, I haven't seen that from others, and that does say a lot about you, and I'll leave it at that. I will say God bless you, even though you may not believe in it. But I'll let you go. And again, thanks for coming, and I'm looking forward to a part 2 where we can get into some more stuff. But before we do part 2, I would like you to at least look at some of my videos when I did about your book. Because then I want you to interact and be able to say, well, you said this, and and just interact with me on what I said, because then you'll understand better where I'm coming from. And I'm not really, like.
Can I ask you to do this? Can you send me one or two of the links that you want me to check out? Because I don't know if I go searching through your channel, I don't know how long it'll take me to find anything. If you can send me a link or two.
All right.
I mean, you probably have a lot of videos. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I did a lot. I think it's like 15, but I think I can send you the
15 about my book?
Yeah, about you and your book. It wasn't just about your book.
Wow.
Because it was before. Well, yes,
please.
I didn't have your book, so I had to talk about what you were saying in that video you first came out with and some other things. So and once I got your book, I started reviewing the book. Okay. So what I'll do, I'll probably send you the 2 that I think are most the strongest, I guess you could say, where I'm dealing with your book, and you can look at those. And because videos like this one, I'm going to put chapters, because I think it's a courtesy when you got long videos, just put chapters so people can scan. Yeah. Because this is 2 hours and something. I don't think people want to even watch it. Okay. But I put chapters in, I believe, almost all the videos I did with you. So you can scan around and see what you want to look at. Okay.
Yep. So send me those links, and I'll dive into it before we get back on.
Yeah. I'll send you maybe 1 or 2, and then you can deal with it that way. Okay.
Okay. I appreciate you, man. Have a good one.
All right. And you too. And actually, there's some other stuff I wanted to do with it. I'm gonna have to go. All right, we're gonna have to do it on the flip side, part 2, because I had some other stuff I wanted to get into, but that's all right. We got some time, Lord willing. You're still around. I'm still around. All right, but thanks again. I appreciate you.
Thanks for tuning in, folks.
All right, and to our Fanatics audience, you all better get saved right now, because the warrior might come follow you now.
All right, I'm out on that note. Peace.
All right. All right. So this is the Christian Road Warrior saying thank you for all that came into the live stream with Brady Fanatic Goodwin. And I think on that note, we're going to be doing some other stuff, and I'm going to go ahead and, because I really like this, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and I'm going to let Fanatic close us out. All right.
Tired of rappers taking commercial deals. They like, nah, I ain't commercial, I'm real. I'm like, dude, your ad space, mad space for Satan's admin, like those madmen in Manhattan. You're not the program, you're just the intermission. A 30-second spot got you locked in position. I fast forward you like TiVo, you're boring, plus deadly. Read the Surgeon General's warning. 90% of what's on iTunes is useless, like high beams at high noon. It's not enlightening, it don't enlighten a thing. Imprisoning listeners, sending souls right to the Bing. Therefore, I declare war war. Grab your hazmat kit, gas mask, and flap jackets. More than one, you'll need a second mask, cause I'm severing the masses with 7 flasks of sarin gases. That means my words are getting on your nerves faster than you can shake it off, run away, or turn backwards. But that's a good thing. Think about all the drama the hood brings. If this is antiseptic, it should sting. Think Listerine, switch scenes. Think walking into the midst of a list of antihistamines. Cavalry, the cure for sin's allergy. Hard to swallow like 444 calories. That's why we break it down into bite-sized pieces. Shout out the tonic, ambassador, thesis, true life, Cruz Cadero, Enoch, earthquake dudes I moved across to the streets with. We couldn't keep it a secret, so we leaked it. Before the internet, indirect speeches. Had them feeding for the blood like leeches. Knowing the cross is how God was gonna reach his.
Sorry about Ben Franklin. It's a battle of Philadelphia, so I'm about Ben Franklin. This is the name.
All right. So this is a Christian Road Warrior saying thanks for tuning in, and it looks like there'll be a part 2, and I'm looking forward to having Brady on again. All right, so I'm gonna let y'all go. God bless.